nice words. So Larry Lessig is a American law professor and very known, fighter for free speech, and he says that we are moving to something like we can call a permission culture. So every time you want to do something on the net, you kind of have to ask, oh, am I violating someone's copyright laws or am I violating someone's patent laws? And if the answer is, well, yes, you do violate my copyright or my patent, then, people just cannot start to be active. And in the end, certain innovations or things or ideas just don't make it to the net. And the effect is, we have less nice applications and things and ideas and creative works on the internet. Okay, then we have this whole cease and desist mania. One question, can you hear me loud and clear? Fine, okay. So, I mean, blogs and the internet as a whole is seen as a very great tool for democratization and a very neat tool for public debate. And, well, this maybe, or this might have been true, but this kind of stopped, when other discovered this whole, you can very easily stop or press public discussions about critical issues by sending cease and desist letters. And on this slide we see Stefan Niggemeier, and he's one of the best German journalists, and he's also a blogger. And right now he's, for example, writing a lot about the kind of, let's say, weird business models of call-in TV shows, where you, when you have a show on TV and then you call and maybe you can win something, but it's more likely that not. And so he has problem of just, writing about this issue because he's getting so many cease and desist letters. And this is then, of course, a very neat way in order to suppress a discussion about it. Now I'm getting to a technical issue, the end-to-end argument. That sounds kind of dry, but it's a very, very beautiful feature of the net. Maybe you guys already have asked yourselves, so how do all these neat applications enter the net? Be it whatever, voice over IP or peer-to-peer, BitTorrent, or the early things like email or chat. Well, this all entered the net because of its very open design principle, and it's called end-to-end. And to make it really short, this end-to-end argument means that all the intelligence on the net is situated at the end host, so like on my laptop or on servers. And the network itself is not doing anything else than just, forwarding innovation. That was, just forwarding data packages. So in the original internet, we have to talk of the original internet. It just couldn't look up into the data packages and see what is this or where does it come from. It just was really dumb and just, forwarded all the data packages. And this is why we have so many innovation on the internet, because, for example, Sean Fanning, the first guy who did a peer-to-peer network, he didn't have to ask anyone, hey, I have this cool innovation, can I please put it onto the internet? So he just did it, and then other people put it onto their computers, and the whole thing worked. And this is why the power of the net comes from its borders. So Sean Fanning, for example, from Napster, he did not have to ask the owners of the network, please, can I implement this? He just did it. He didn't have to ask anyone. But times are changing, and now we have this issue of net neutrality on the agenda, and I'm pretty sure that this issue will be like one of the most important issues in the next years. So what does it mean? It simply means the equal treatment of data traffic, so independent of source or service or broadband consumption. And then we do have gatekeepers, for example, the big telecommunication companies, so the guys who own the networks, or as well internet service providers. They would love to have a say. They want to be asked when someone, for example, is putting a new application to the internet. For example, voice over IP. This is, you know, a business or telephony over the internet that is, of course, interfering with the basic discipline of telecommunication companies. And there have been cases, for example, Vonage is a voice over IP service in the United States. And in 2004, the service of Vonage was kind of, you know, slowed down by the telecommunication owners. So this whole net neutrality thing is not something academic. There are already cases where the owners of networks or other gatekeepers do use their power because this end-to-end kind of stopped. So now we do have a lot of intelligence in the network itself. It's became kind of smart, and it can look into data packages, and it can discriminate certain applications or certain information. And there's one American law professor, lots of American law professors here in this lecture. His name is Tim Wu, and he calls the end of net neutrality and this whole discrimination of certain data traffic a Tony Soprano model. So it's like a mafia-like, because they want to kind of have a say in things, and they want to tell people, for example, okay, you want to do voice over IP on my network, okay, but then you have to pay me extra. Or they maybe say, oh, you want to do BitTorrent? Well, you know, that's so many broadband consumption, maybe you can do it, but then you have to pay me extra, for example. There's like a nice German word for it, it's Wegelagerei. I find it kind of matching for this. So what's the problem when net neutrality is about to stop? Well, of course, certain innovation becomes scarce. So just think of the inventors of BitTorrent, for example, if they do have to ask first the owners of the network, hey, I have something like BitTorrent, can I please, you know, put it onto the internet? And of course, answers will very often be a no or yes, but you have to pay me extra. And of course, most people just cannot do it. Another issue is that certain content becomes scarce, so critical content. Because if network owners are able to look into data packages, and of course, if the possibility is there in order to stop certain information flow, whatever political information, of course, this chance, you know, will be taken, and certain content or certain information will be having trouble in order to get through. And in the end, it all means in the end of a free information flow, let's say it's that certain information will have trouble getting through. Next big issue are security measurements. I as well only want to talk briefly about it because at this Congress are lots of lectures who deal with this whole security weirdo things which are happening right now. Well, good news, at least if you're a police officer, the internet is much, much easier to control than the meat space. Of course, it's impossible to put, a police officer into every family in order to monitor whom they're meeting and whom they are calling, but this is pretty easy to do with the digital technologies. It's way easier to do that on the net. So we have the issue of data retention in Germany, but that's as well an issue in other countries as well. Data retention means Vorratsdatenspeicherung. And so data retention makes possible the storage of internet traffic, telephony, and email. So it's like a huge project of mass surveillance, and the people who do this surveillance are then, for them it's then possible to identify relationships, business contacts, and of course they can, you know, analyze this and get hints of the interests of people. We as well have the issue of the Bundestrojaner, but I just want to mention it. I just don't want to talk about it. There are so many more security measures which are entering the debate. And I always have to think of that what people or what science fiction authors, kind of imagine themselves. This is right now already coming true. For example, maybe some of you guys know the movie Minority Report. That was like a major Hollywood movie a couple of years ago with Tom Cruise, but it's based on a novel by Philip K. Dick, and he wrote it in the 1950s. And there he imagined, something that the police force can kind of monitor thoughts, and before something bad happens, then they step in and do stuff. And with this whole data retention thing, I think it's pretty much the same, and Bundestrojaner as well. So you can monitor what people do at the net, and of course, then you have the hints what these people are maybe just thinking, or if they, just want to look up, for example, how, just of interest, how bombs are built, and if you are unlucky and then you get into the focus of police, we do have something like a thought control, but of course it doesn't mean that people really want to build a bomb, so maybe they just want to look it up. And the effects of this massive surveillance measurements are that, of course, everyone who's active on the internet, for example, bloggers, so they might are shy, or they just don't dare to write about certain issues because they always have in the back of their heads, well, maybe if I write something about, terror, then my data record will start to look suspicious. And no, I'm not going to write about this and this and this issue, because then maybe I will be in the focus of police, so I better stop with this. And in the end, of course, certain political engagement will stay out of the net, and self-censorship is one of the effects that will happen. And I'm not talking of radical engagement, I just talk about normal, nice, neat, democratic engagement. I mean, just think of what happened to André Heinz and his family, and his partner just did a very impressive and disturbing talk of what happened to them. Next issue is preservation of information. So the internet, could be a dream come true, so it could be like an endless source of every information people ever wrote of, like every artificial work or creative work, but it's very hard actually to preserve information. So then we have, for example, DRM, and if you have on creative works, some DRM technology, it's really hard to look these things up in a couple of years. For example, so if these, whatever, the service, or if the hardware gets old, or like no one else maintains these systems, then it's just kind of impossible to look them up in a couple of years. And of course, we do have the big problem of proprietary standards and formats. I mean, just think of people who wrote their PhD 10 years ago, and if you want to look it up today, it's pretty hard. And the effect is here that a lot of digital knowledge is getting lost very, very fast. So we have this huge paradox here that, the internet could be, or could function as our outsourced brain, or it could be this endless source of information and artificial works. But then we do have these forces of outbalanced intellectual property rights. We have the sole cease and desist mania. We have the problem that net neutrality is being undermined. And then we have this excessive security measures. And it all results or sums up to that, yes, there's scarcity entering the internet as well. So it's not anymore the huge plague of humankind, or like as humankind knows